Hey, what's going on, my fellow idiots? Welcome back for another episode of Idiot Proof Cooking. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of experimentation baking today. If you follow the channel for a while, you would know that every once in a while I like to experiment with some baking. So I'm going to try and create a Black Forest cobbler, which is a Black Forest cake with all the cherries and all the chocolate, but make it super simple, idiot proof, if I might say, and into a cobbler. So let's get into making it. Okay, let's try making a Black Forest cobbler. I'm excited to see how this turns out. You're going to start off with a mixing bowl, much like we always do when baking, and into it we're going to add 3 pounds of frozen and pitted cherries. I lost one there, make sure you get them all in the bowl. From there we're going to sprinkle on a cup of white granulated sugar, so just sprinkle that all over your cherries, and then we need something to thicken this all up because cherries aren't going to thicken themselves up, so I'm going to use a 1/4 cup of cornstarch and pour it in, and then to add some liquids to this all, I'm going to add in the juice of 1 large lemon, so just cut it in half, squeeze all of the juice all over the cherries and everything else, and then just use a spatula to mix this all together until it's thoroughly combined. You might have a little bit of sugar or cornstarch still sitting in the bottom of your bowl, and that's completely fine. From there, you're going to get out a 12-inch cast iron skillet, spray it down with some cooking spray or rub some oil into it, or even butter, that would work, and then pour all of your frozen cherries into the cast iron pan, and then just press them down and spread them out with your spatula until they form a nice even layer. Set aside the pan for a moment and get yourself out another mixing bowl because it's time to make the topping, the pastry, the biscuit, whatever you want to call it, for a cobbler. So start off by pouring in 1 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour and then a 1/2 cup of white granulated sugar. Next in is 1 1/2 teaspoons of baking powder and a teaspoon of baking soda. Once that's all in, we're going to add in some kosher salt, about a 1/2 teaspoon's worth. Next, you'll want to get yourself a sifter because we're going to add in a 1/4 cup of cocoa powder. Now we're using the sifter because cocoa powder tends to clump up. As you can see, there's like little balls of it, and it's just easier to run it through a sifter and use like your whisk or a spoon to just press it all through the sifter so that there's no little balls or clumps left over. Then just use that trusty whisk of yours and whisk all of the dry ingredients until they're thoroughly combined. Set it aside for a moment because it's time to start adding in some wet ingredients, starting off with 6 tablespoons of melted unsalted butter, and then we're going to throw in 2/3 of a cup of buttermilk, and we're going to use a spatula or the whisk or a spoon, really whatever mixing utensil you want, and we're just going to mix all of this together until we get our batter for the cobbler. It's going to be a little bit thicker than a normal cobbler batter, which is typically pretty thin, but then to finish this all off, we're going to add in a 1/2 cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips and then just mix them into the batter. Once they're thoroughly incorporated, go get your 12-inch cast iron pan with all of your cherries in them, and I'm just going to spoon out all of the batter on top of it and start pressing it down and spreading it out. It's almost like a cookie batter, really, like a not quite as thick as a cookie batter, but that's kind of what it's coming out as. So anyways, spread it all out on top of your cherries and then preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. We're going to bake this for 40 to 45 minutes until it comes out nice and puffy and the cherries are nice and gooey and melty and thick, looking like this. Oh man, this smells amazing and it looks quite good. So we're just going to let this cool down for the next 15 to 20 minutes before we crack into it. So after 20 minutes, it's ready to go. It's still pretty hot, but at least I can handle the pan now. It's not going to burn me. So I'm just going to scoop myself out some here. I'm pretty excited to try this. I think it's going to turn out really nice. Oh yeah, look at the steam coming off it and look at that delicious cherry filling. Oh man. All right, another scoop of the cherry filling, and let me give you a close-up shot. Hold on, there we go. Look at that, the chocolate topping and the cherry filling. Oh, I gotta try one of the cherries here. Oh yeah, that's good. But let's go in for the official taste test with everything in one bite. All right, I think this is gonna be good. I think it turned out really nicely here. So let's get some of the chocolate topping with some of the cherries. Look at it, it's still pretty hot. And with the first bite, wow, that is sweet and rich, and the chocolate and the cherries go so good together. This is absolutely amazing. I love this. I'm glad that it turned out. This is really cool. If there's one thing to take away from this video is how easy this was to make. It came together in no time. So let's leave it there, shall we? This was a lot of fun to make. I absolutely love this. This was crazy delicious, and I highly recommend you make it at home. If you did like the video though, why don't you drop me a comment, like the video, or even subscribe to the channel. Thanks again for watching Idiot Proof Cooking, and we'll see you again soon.